In today's Warzone video, I got you guys with the top 5 best SMG loadouts that you should be using right now. But before we jump into that, I quickly want to shout out today's Noti gang, and let's get into it. So starting off today's top 5 SMGs, I got you guys with the Marco 5, man. After the most recent Warzone update, I can honestly say the Marco 5 is definitely the meta SMG right now. So for the Marco build, you want the recoil booster muzzle for that fire rate. For the barrel, put on the Perfetto Lesto 355. This is going to give you ADS speed, movement speed, aim walking movement speed, and sprint to fire time. This is by far the best barrel for your Marco 5. So for the optic on the Marco 5, of course, you want the slate reflector. This is basically the standard sight to use on all Vanguard SMGs. And then for the stock on the Marco 5, make sure you guys throw on the Emerito FR. This is by far the best stock. This is going to give you initial firing recoil, recoil recovery, ADS speed, and movement speed. Definitely the best stock. And then coming in for the underbarrel on the Marco 5, you want the M19 hand stop for that recoil control. This honestly makes the Marco 5 a beam. And then for the next attachment, you're going to want the 8mm 64 round mag. For the ammunition, we're going to be using Blixen for that extra bullet velocity. This really makes a big difference. For the rear grip on the Marco 5, you want taped grip for the aiming stability, movement speed, weapon swap quickness, and sprint to fire speed. This really ups the movement on the Marco 5, so I highly recommend you guys throw on taped grip. For perk 1, we're going to be using Frenzy for that health regen after kills. This is huge, especially in solos when you're getting third-partied a lot. You definitely want to have on Frenzy. And for also trios and quads, it's nice to have that health recovery after a kill, especially if you're getting pushed by a whole team. So definitely throw on Frenzy. And then for perk 2, we're going to have Quick. That's going to be the full Marco 5 loadout, taking the #1 spot. And let's go ahead and move on to the second SMG. Coming in at the #2 spot, we got the Armaguerra 43 from Vanguard as well. This gun was the absolute meta in the last update, but after the most recent, it kind of got a nerf. Overall, I still think it's one of the top SMGs in the game, but I wouldn't say it's quite #1 anymore. So for the Armaguerra, make sure you guys throw on the recoil booster as always for the fire rate. For the barrel, we're going to be using the Emerito short barrel for the aim down sight speed, aim walking movement speed, and sprint to fire speed. Like I said earlier, you want the slate reflector on basically all Vanguard SMGs, so we're going to throw on slate reflector. For the stock, you're going to be using the skeletal stock for the aim walking movement speed, aim walking steadiness, aim down sight speed, and firing recoil. There's not really a reason to use any other stock besides the skeletal, so I highly recommend that for you guys. For our underbarrel, we're going to throw on the SG98 Compact for the aim walking movement speed and reduced scope sway. And for our magazine on the Armaguerra, we're going to throw on the Curve 64 for the bullet velocity, damage, bullet penetration. And for the ammunition, as always, you're going to want Blixen for that extra bullet velocity on your SMGs. Rear grip on the Armaguerra is going to be grooved. This gives you aim walking movement speed, horizontal recoil control, ADS firing speed, and aiming stability. I would definitely say grooved is your go-to for rear grip, definitely on the Armaguerra. Perk 1 for your Armaguerra is going to be hard scope for that recoil control. This makes the Armaguerra have basically no recoil at all. And then for perk 2, we're going to throw on Quick for that sprint speed. Here's the full Armaguerra build for the second spot in the top 5 meta SMGs. And let's go ahead and move on to #3. So coming in at the #3 spot, we have one of my favorite SMGs of all time, which is going to be the Owen Gun from Vanguard. Now, this gun did get brought back into the meta after the most recent update. And for the new build, you want the recoil booster for the fire rate. You want the Gawain 188 shrouded barrel for the less damage fall off, bullet velocity, and limb damage. Definitely rock the shrouded barrel. For the optic, of course, we want slate reflector as always. For the stock, you're going to rock the remove stock for that movement speed, ADS speed, sprint to fire speed, and aim walking movement speed. There's really no reason to rock any other stock besides the remove stock on the Owen Gun. Now for the underbarrel for your Owen Gun, you're going to want the Mark VI skeletal for that ADS and movement speed. This makes a huge difference with the Owen Gun, so I highly recommend the skeletal underbarrel. For the magazine, we want the Gorenko 72 round. This makes the Owen Gun so fun in squads and trios. You don't have to reload this gun at all. You can basically wipe a whole squad without reloading it at all. Now we're going to go ahead and put on the lengthened bullets for the extra bullet velocity as always. Rear grip is going to be taped grip again for that aiming stability, movement speed, weapon swap quickness, and sprint to fire speed. This Owen Gun has insane mobility and speed, so I highly recommend you guys try it out. For perk 1, we're going to use acrobatic for even more movement and sprint speed. And then for perk 2, obviously we're going to use quick. This is one of the funnest SMGs to use at the moment right now, so I highly recommend you guys this Owen Gun build. And let's go ahead and jump into the 4th SMG that I've got for y'all today. So coming in at 4th place, we have one of the best SMGs that was ever added into Warzone, the MP40, man. Now the MP40 actually did get buffed in the most recent update, so I would definitely say it's back in the top 5 SMGs. Of course, for the muzzle, we want recoil booster. For the barrel, we're going to throw on the VDD short barrel for that damage range, bullet velocity, and limb damage. Definitely the best barrel when it comes to the MP40. Optic, you guys already know, man, we want slate reflector. Or if you want to try the iron sight on the MP40, you could use these two last iron sights. These are both nice as well. But overall, I prefer the slate reflector. For the stock on the MP40 build, you're going to want the folding stock for that sprint to fire and movement speed. I would recommend this over the remove stock on the MP40 just because it does give you a little bit better movement speed and it doesn't really hurt your recoil much. So I would recommend the folding over the remove stock, at least on the MP40. Now for the underbarrel, guys, you're going to want the Mark VI skeletal for even more ADS speed and movement speed. For the magazine on the MP40, you want the Gorenko 45. That's the sweet spot for the MP40. Anything more kind of makes it feel slow, and anything less just runs out of ammo too fast. Of course, you want the lengthened bullets for that extra bullet velocity. Now for the rear grip on the MP40, we're going to be using the fabric grip for the ADS speed, sprint to fire speed, and hip fire accuracy. Most of the other rear grips just kind of make the MP40 feel a little bit slow, so that's why I recommend the fabric. For perk 1, we're going to be using momentum for extra movement speed after kills. This is one of my favorite things to run on the MP40 because it just makes you feel insanely fast. And then for perk 2 on the MP40, obviously we're going to want quick for that sprint speed. That's going to be the full MP40 build, and we're going to go ahead and jump into the 5th SMG that I've got for you guys. So coming in at the number 5 spot, I got you guys the H4 Blixen from Vanguard. Now before we jump into that really quick, I do want to let you guys know that after this, I've got some Cold War and Modern Warfare SMGs for you guys to use, just in case you don't have the Vanguard SMGs leveled up, or if you just want to try something different. I'm going to have some other SMGs that are also very, very good. Now for the H4 Blixen build, you're going to want to throw on the recoil booster for that fire rate. Now for the barrel on the Blixen, you're going to want to put on the Johnson 9 RMK for the damage range, and bullet velocity. At the current moment, this is going to be the go-to barrel on the Blixen. For the optic, I honestly don't use the slate reflector on the Blixen. I like to use the NIDAR Model 47. You can mix and match whichever one you like the most, but for me, I rock the NIDAR. For the stock, we're going to use removed for that movement speed, sprint to fire speed, and ADS speed. So for the underbarrel on your Blixen, you're going to want the M19 hand stop for that extra recoil control. Magazine for the Blixen is going to be the Gorenko 54 for the recoil control and increased torso damage. Ammunition, as always, is going to be lengthened for the extra bullet velocity. For the rear grip on the Blixen, you're going to throw on the stippled grip for that recoil control and initial firing recoil. And then for perk 1, we're going to be using fleet for the weapon swap quickness and movement speed. And then for perk 2, of course, we're going to use quick for the extra sprint speed. That's going to be the number 5 SMG that I've got for you guys. And like I said, I've got some Cold War and Modern Warfare loadouts that you could also use. And let's go ahead and jump into those. So for the first Cold War SMG, I got you guys the OTS-9, man. Now this is definitely still a viable SMG that you could be using. I wouldn't place it in the top 5, but I know some people might not have all of the Vanguard SMGs. So the OTS is definitely a gun you guys can still do a lot of damage with. And another Cold War SMG you guys could also use is going to be the MP5. Attachments are on the screen right now if you guys do want to try this build out. Honestly, I think the MP5 might be like number 6 or 7 in terms of SMGs right now. So it's definitely still usable if you guys don't have the Vanguard guns. Now let's go ahead and give you guys some Modern Warfare loadouts. So the first Modern Warfare SMG I think you guys could definitely still use is going to be the CX-9 on screen right now. I definitely think this gun could still compete in the current meta. I wouldn't place it in the top 5, but it's definitely a viable option for you guys. Let's go ahead and jump into the final loadout of today's video. So for the final loadout of today's video, I got you guys another Modern Warfare SMG that you could use, and it is none other than the classic Modern Warfare MP5. Believe it or not, this gun actually still does quite a bit of damage on Warzone. I wouldn't place it in the top 5 anymore, but you could definitely still use it if you want to. So the build I recommend is on screen for you guys right now, and that is going to be the end of today's video. If you guys did enjoy, man, make sure you drop a like. I would really appreciate it. And as always, make sure you hit that subscribe button if you are new, and I will see you guys in the next video, man. Peace.